Hey guys, Master Xeon here, and in this video we're going to be discussing hair. Now, throughout this video I go through a couple of different workflows, ranging from using particle hair and ways to make it look better, get a more controlled result, without so much of the stress and wear and tear that it causes on the computer, as well as other methods. I go over, how to just add it, comb it, modify it, different options that you have available to you with the brush tools, as well as how to prevent the hair from penetrating the scalp. I also demonstrate my personal way of going about hair. The results were a little rushed since I was trying to keep this within a particular time constraint, as well as go over multiple hairstyles at the same time within an hour. But luckily for you, this is a real-time recording, so I'll also demonstrate curve guides and how they're used, and the results you can get with it are pretty nice. However, curve guides do take a bit more control. Take a bit of the control away from you, the user. So I'll also demonstrate curves, which was probably the weakest one out of them all. In fact, right here you can even see that this is just a big open tube. And then planes. My classic planes method is the one that I generally use because it's easy, looks nice, covers the whole head, as well as exportability to games, other um, software, whatnot, as well as quickest to render. Next up is my new personal favorite, which is the skin hair. Now, skin is one of the new modifiers that's been added that usually you can use for concepting meshes, building your characters, as well as using it to generate a skeleton once it's complete. But I do demonstrate how I use it in the process of this video to create quick hairstyles. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and begin. Alright guys, jumping in here and beginning. So today's topic is on hair, obviously. Now, I know Andrew Price already put out a video about hair, but he did not go into depth with it enough. So that is where I come in. So recently I gave a lecture to some Blender users recently about, my workflow for creating hair, as well as demonstrated multiple ways I would make hair myself. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get some hairstyles set so my character's not a bald bastard anymore. Alright, so first thing of course is you want to isolate the group. For way one you want to isolate the group, duplicate it with ctrl D, press P to separate. P will separate a mesh from another mesh. Y will split it if I keep it still part in the same part. Those things you should experiment with if you don't know what they mean. But this tutorial will be in real time, so I won't be time-lapsing this one. Y'all will just spend the next hour with me while I talk about hair. So, okay, turn off that. Alright, so we're ready. Now the theme I'm using is the energy theme that I think I saw Light posting about earlier, so I went ahead and just got it. The mirror will make it appear on only one side of the head. However, if we just remove the shape keys, I can apply the modifier. And if I go over here and just click on it again, now that's back. But there's something wrong here. There we go. So I had to flip the normals. So the first thing is we want to set up some weight groups, split this into a group, split this into a group, and we'll just take a look at what we've got here. So group A, group B, and you know what, we ought to just make one more group just for the middle. Alright, so we'll start off with the left side of the head. Now whenever it comes to particles, I used to be the kind of guy that would go in here, add 1,000 particles, grab my sculpt brush, not my sculpt brush, sorry, go on particle mode, and grab my comb brush, here, and I would just start combing. And I would wonder why my hair looked awful, because, you know, this is a lot of manual work, and my hair looks nasty. There's not any softness to it like real hair. It's more like wire mesh, you know? So this is not the way to go about it. I mean, maybe if I want my character to look like a mad scientist or something like that, but yeah, definitely not going to work. So we'll add another one, hair, and this time I'll show you my method. So we're going to give this 40 strands, and the important thing is under render, you want to add more steps, 6 steps, and under display you want to have the same steps so the hair has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments. And then under vertex groups, you can go ahead and set it to be the group that you want. So I'm going to focus on this side first. The next thing is I'm going to adjust the length. I'm going for a short hairstyle today. And we'll comb. And by combing it, you can see that the mesh, that the hair is starting to get very close to the head. And so if you don't want that, then over here under deflect emitter, everything after 1 will keep it off the head. So usually I'll work, 1.1, 1.3, maybe 95, and I'll just start laying my hair in. And I know what y'all are thinking. This looks awful, right? Well, if we come out of particle mode, we go over and do the yin to the yang of this particular hair configuration, and hit interpolated. Interpolated I like a little bit better than simple. Simple seems to spawn hairs a little beyond the vertex group, but interpolated just works out better for me. If we want to see what it looks like in render, that's what we got. Now the thing is that all these children's strands are following one main parent strand nearby. So here we'll just add a quick material and also uncheck emitter. Under render, and if we render this out, here's what we're looking at off the bat. Solid head of hair. But the thing is that the scalp is, still showing. So, we'll just go about this one other way. So we'll make this material 4, duplicate this, call it scalp, and we're just going to make it a transparent shader. And with that one being material index 2, we can go over here and set the material to be the index of 2. So now when we render, scalp still shows. The heck, scalp? Here, let's find out why. Because in the old engine, you could just uncheck emitter and it wouldn't show, but now it still shows. So the easiest way would probably be to add this to a new group and just add a modifier of mask, and we'll just make it group 3. Might as well go down here, call this scalp, once I can spell. And so here we go, we have our starter hair. We'll turn this off for now, but we'll turn it on in between here in rendering. So, I'm just showing you all my basic workflow. So, few strands equals less headaches. Say it again, few strands equals far less headaches. And I see a lot of people that just, throw hair, 1,000 strands, comb it, add children. That's a ton of strands. And that's why render times are taking so long. So we'll copy those same settings. And under emission, it's still at 40. And under density, we'll set this to be group 2. And lo and behold, back in the particle edit mode, we're just going to begin combing it. And I'm actually using my mouse today, so usually with tablet I'm a little faster. And so we have our second patch of hair. So next we'll just add a third one, and we'll go with these particle settings. 1 again. Might as well just call it her, you know. That way you know it's the hair. And now we'll select the middle section. And voila, we're done. So you see me make a quick hairstyle, you know, not the best one, you know, not even a working one really, and might as well go down here, change this to be 0.3. So got some thick bristles going on. And so we'll just leave it at that for this one, because I plan on, instead of going over just one way of making hair, I want to go over many ways that I would do hair, because particle hair is definitely my least favorite, my most favorite being polygon hair. So we'll put in a particle info node, maybe not that one, maybe hair info, and we'll take the intercept and plug it in, and this is what we're looking at. So I want to go into camera mode, and we need it to render a little faster because this is not quick enough for test. So I'll just press Shift B while in the camera view and just get rid of make it render only a section of the screen. And then under camera, I want to make sure that there's no depth of field. That way we're seeing the result, you know. So now back to the scalp, we can go here, put a converter, color ramp. Now as you can see right now, the hair is shaded from black to white. So this intercept is the black and white information going from the scalp to the tip. And that is pretty handy to have. In fact, if I just bring up some my grease tools, I can kind of explain it like I did before. I'm trying to go over this the same way I did when I was doing it in the Hangout, but I may forget or miss some points or something. So now it's tablet time. So, you know, this is your hair. This is your hair strand. Right here, it's black. Right here, it's white. So you have a black to white gradient. Just a black to white gradient. So when you throw in a color ramp, you know, the color ramp node, you have two sliders, you know, and it starts off like white to black. So anytime I see a black to white gradient, I'm talking about the mist pass, I'm talking about the normalized Z pass, like all of these are able to be adjusted and controlled with a color ramp with amazing results. So, you know, that's basically what I'm trying to say. And then as far as particles go, we chose 6, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 pieces, so this can actually bend like this instead of it by default with just 2, where it bends like this, which is much more unnatural. So remove all this stuff off the screen, go back up, Shift Z to go back into rendered view, and now you understand what I'm doing. So the intercept is giving this black to white information from the root to the tip. So we put this in here, and you'll see very quickly just by pulling in the white that I'm pushing the white in while still keeping it black on the root. So, you know, change this to be brown, added another little spike, bring it out here. Maybe we want to change this one to be, you know, a little bright. And, you know, we start having some more natural looking hair. Given that there's still some adjustments that could be needed. But with the hair shader, I haven't really spent a lot of time with it, but thank you, Mr. Dingus, for adding it in for us. So that's that. So the material, the hair is all set, except the character does look a bit bald. So for balding, we can increase virtual parents. We could increase the children. Keep in mind there's like 40 in each area, multiplied by 100. So 40 times 100 is 4,000, 4,000, 4,000. So a total of 12,000 strands. So we could actually go up a little bit more to say 200. Wouldn't recommend doing this with the default settings, but I'm pretty sure we can get away with it here. So usually at this point, I will begin dealing with the hair a little more tentatively and coming in and even maybe raising the thickness of the root. So if I change this to say 0.7, then my head of hair is filled in and all is well, and I can just move on with that. But we both know, you and I, that this is just too damn thick to be good hair. But this isn't about how to make supreme hair. This is more about the process of workflows to make hair. So the next thing we want to mess with here is under children. Let's lower the display back to say 50. Now the viewport isn't slowing down, and now that we have our segment set, this is where the fun times come in with interpolated and both with simple. Look how simple looks. That's simply bad. So interpolated is a little nicer. I mean, I could even go further with this. Like, let's say I really, really, really want to fill this stuff in because maybe I don't want my final result to look so darn hideous. Control up arrow, maximize the screen view, and we'll jump over to System 1. So keep in mind that every hair that I'm adding is 200 strands. So you don't want to just paint. I'm clicking, because painting them in will is a surefire way to get to a blue screen, which lately I've been looking at a lot of blue screens, meaning that I either need to upgrade my RAM, adjust my workflow, or something. But I talked to quite a few artists who are limited by their computers. I mean, I think it's the curse of every noob who ever uses this program or any 3D, is that eventually your ambitions will become bigger than your computer's ability to put them out. So you have to either become crafty or wait for your computer to improve. But for me, I just adjust my workflow. If I blue screen, I probably made a mistake. So back in object mode, now we have it a little more filled in. However, maybe I should make another group and continue, but back to the matter at hand. So we have our head of hair, and you can click curl or radial or wave or braid and just play with your options. Frequency and amplitude are the two that I stick with here. By pulling up the amplitude, you can control the insanity that comes with it, and frequency will increase the frequency in which strange things will happen inside of your hair. So, you know, let's create a head full of nap, you know, and voila. So the clumping is a bit high. If I lower the clumping, nothing happens. If I raise the clumping here, lots of things happen. But the clump is something that usually I don't mess with too much because it'll give you this whole patchy look. But let's play with some of the other modes here. Actually, 0. Curl, I believe, is my favorite. And by lowering down the frequency to say 0, you can actually hold shift while dragging the slider and it will graduate it slowly, allowing you fine control. I don't know if I ever mentioned that. One of my favorite things about Blender, and speaking of which, Blender is now under a large debate on what it's going to do about that right mouse button and how it selects stuff. All I can say is please don't change the controls. I've become very used to them, and I like them. Keeps the noobs out, kinda. And so we continue looking at our hair. And all we're going for is just different looks here, just playing with the settings. But, I mean, usually I will get the hair straightened up with particles, have it looking alright. Then I'll just play with these. And the secret is to just do it real faint and controlled. And you'll end up with a pretty alright looking result. I mean, we're back in the scene. And now my character has hair. So that's way number one. So we're going to duplicate this, move it over one layer. Let's go to that layer. Delete all this dango hair. Add one. Choose her. And here we are, starting out with our afro again. So recently I've been playing with something called curve guides. If you aren't familiar with curves, here's a quick example. Drop in a plane, add a particle system, and under emission, maybe we want to make it be done by 50. Maybe we want to, where's my Amaranth add-on when I need it, so I can just quickly, I believe it's here. Here we go. Nope. That one just lets me set my current frame. All I'm going to do is just go to 50, press E, so it just sets it in. You can also press S over it, and that'll set your start. Like, look here, I'm setting my start, which you can also set here. And then on top of that, you can also press B or press M to add a marker. Control, I believe it's Control M to rename it. Yes, Control M. And you can even take your markers and press Control B while over it, or actually with your camera selected, and bind your camera to the markers. So if you don't know how to switch active cameras in viewport and you're trying to jump the camera in one frame and wondering why your motion blur is crazy, just do it like that. But it's really not that hard of bonding different cameras to markers, which is something that I also do all the time. I know it's a little off topic, but just got throwing those tips. So here we go. We got our particles, and usually you control particles, drop in a vortex, and we start controlling them like that. But curves offer a very unique way of controlling particles. So particle hair, particles in general are both able to be controlled by different force fields. So here I'm going to set a curve, and I'm just going to go over here, force field, curve guide. And now my particles are following my curve. Absolute control. Absolute control. I mean, I see a lot of questions about this online about how to get absolute control over your particles. The answer is curves, key particles, and being smart with your other force fields. But mainly, when I need controlled particles, I'll use this. I remember there was one time I was trying to make a Bankai, and this is what I used to basically control the stuff. So now you see it in essence. So let's get back in here, drop in a curve, line of view. I always press GX1, so that way the starting point of the curve, its origin point, is the same as here, and I know which way it's going. Rotate 90, rotate Z on 90, Shift R to repeat that. And if we set this to be curve guide, you see the hair is already going out of its way to jump over here. And I say out of its way because, you know, this part should not be affected by this curve. So, you know, what gives? Well, the thing about curve guides is that, you know, you do got to edit these parameters. And so, mainly, you just got to hit use max, raise your maximum distance to say this, and now we have our curve guide. So the proximity of the hair being in this will determine its fall off. So what I'll do is Shift C cursor to center, take my curve, and just put multiple ones in here. If you look at it from the front, nice and controlled. And I mean, I can take this curve and extend it, and literally extend my hair because they're particles. That's all they are. And so, if we go to the previous layer and press Shift H after selecting this to hide everything except that, now we can just select each curve and just start making adjustments. In fact, for this hair in the front, you may want to just duplicate a curve, put it there. And you just were able to control a little easier. And this is I would recommend this if you're not a fan of using the comb brushes, but as you can see, there are some things with the comb brush that make it fairly easy to deal with. So we're going to go ahead and just move along. I know that, you know, the results aren't particularly stunning, but we shall continue. So the next thing is I'll add a plane, merge it all to center, extrude down. Now I have a line, and I'll add a skin modifier. That's too blocky. Ctrl 1, add a subsurf modifier on top of my skin. And now we're going to create hair using this. And the cool thing about this is with the skin modifier, you can actually go up, add a cloth. In this modifier stack, it's going to skin it, subsurf it, and then cloth it. Wrong order. I want it to move the cloth while it's on a vertex level, then skin it, then subdivide it. And what result is that? Well, let's see. That's what it looks like right now. So if we just take the root, Ctrl G, make a group, go over here, make the pinning be said group. Now we have this, which is a pretty decent result. In fact, you can put in a force fill, maybe a cooler force fill, you know, no force fill cooler than the vortex. I love this one. If we put this up to like 6, we have our waving hair. Not the best waving hair, but hey, my render time, not yours. So, what are we going to do with this hair now? Well, we hold down, actually no shortcuts for this. So, if you don't know what snapping is, it's right here. And we'll set this to be face. We'll enable both of these. And now everything that we touch will stick. So sorry guys about the lack of tutorials lately. I've been a little busy with stuff, you know. Breaking Bad was ending, had to see how that went. But that's not even a suitable excuse. But I have been actually a little busy lately, and thank you all for who viewed my last video about concepting a robot. Your comments and views definitely mean something to me and keep me wanting to do this. In fact, I'm doing this video because one of my subscribers wrote a letter asking me where the hell have I been. And so, using the skin modifier, I mean, I usually use this thing to build characters, and here I am building the hair with it, and the hair's all sticking. There's no questions about that. Alright, so on this thing, might as well remove the sub D for now and give it a collision so it can ignore it. So, put the sub D back, hit optimal display, so it shows our humble low wireframe view, and we just get to work. So, as you can see, there's not, it still looks a bit faceted, and that's because the modifier for skin doesn't yet have a segments option, which who knows if it will in the future. It's just my dream that someday it will, so you can choose how many segments come in between, but not too big of a deal. And as you can see, we're just building on the hair. Nothing special, just a little snapping. The modifier stack does all the rest. Whenever that happens, usually I'll just select all and just choose mark root. Just mark everything root. Why not? I'm not making armatures for this. And that's probably the worst piece of advice ever for dealing with the skin, but as you can see, I'm back to making hair again. So if you are using a modifier and that happens, you know, don't fret, just check your options. And as you can see, pretty easy. Not a lot of work to do. Covered the whole head. Not the best looking hair, but damn good looking compared to a bald ass head. So we'll hit smooth, so it has a smooth surface, isolate in local mode, and let's see what we can do to improve it. So this is maybe where we can add more modifiers. Go ahead and remove the cloth since it's useless, and I just wanted to demonstrate how easy it is to move these skin setup hairs with just one vertex. I mean, cloth on just a line of verts is definitely going to be a lot better than trying to actually deform these all, because they will just collapse. And so next thing is, you know, maybe I want to remove some of that faceting. Go away, cloth that said I don't need you. And, you know, hit it with a smooth, and we can give it a factor of, I don't know, 50, maybe not, maybe 3, maybe 8, maybe 8. And by pressing Ctrl A, you can scale individual points on the skin. It doesn't do anything to the vertice, but it does modify the way the skin is. And so here's way number 2. So as you see, filled in the head real quick, done. You know what, and even better, hit render, comes out fast, comes out so fast compared to the previous, which was particle hair, which can take, every time I add it, 23 minutes render time. So I'm definitely working on ways of getting that to be a lot quicker. and tra la la la. So we'll leave that and move the head to the next layer. You know, I'm already over the 30-minute mark. I was actually going to try to keep it short, um, but you know, here's the next way. We drop in a plane, line of view, scale it down, mirrors on, magnets on, so that's what's going on there. And we just do it the classic way. This is the way that I normally build my hair, except it does require that I have to UV unwrap it at the end, which is kind of annoying, but it's a price we all gotta pay. If you don't wrap it in advance and then just post strands. But I'll actually convert this to be solid wire only, or yeah, just wire only. And just with the power of shrink wrap underneath, we're just dropping in our hair. And just start dropping in bows on it. Just building our hair. I try to be more scalp oriented now. I think on my older hairstyles, on my former models, I wasn't scalp oriented, which also added to an unrealistic look, because there was no origin of scalp for the hair, which basically will make it look silly. And voila. So you can imagine me doing this all the way around, because you're about to see me do it all the way around. And just extruding points. Knowing that everything I touch will snap to the head gives me peace of mind of just freedom, flexibility for modeling. And snapping is definitely one of my favorite options. Favorite things in Blender. In any program, any 3D program I ever pick up, the first thing I always ask is, so how do you snap? So how do you project? Because those are major parts of my workflow. So if I were ever to use another 3D program that wasn't Blender, then they better have some darn good snap options. Because oh snap, if they don't have them, I'll exit out of it. So dropping in more of this hair. And more. So I'm rotating double R to try to rotate. It's not working out for me because it's a shortcut and not a very good way to work. But it doesn't matter. I'll just delete some pieces, re-add it. You know, just duplicate an edge, rotate it. And continue. Just setting them hairs on this head. So there's still some bald spots, but I'm not too worried about it because we still have stuff to do. And so I will select these in the middle and turn off my mirror. Mirror. I keep saying mirror. I mean snap. I want to turn off my snap so that way I can Alt S, because you cannot Alt S if there is already, if your project snap is on. So keep that in mind in case you press Alt S and realize you can't. And by Alt S-ing key parts, I can just come back and scale the tips off the head while keeping the roots fairly stationary. What is happening here? I just can't find that second surface point, but no problem. So this is where we leave off on this journey. Remove these views, and oh wait, we'll put a subsurf, put a solidify, alright, receiving some messages. Alright, and hit smooth. And here we go. This is like my classic hair. Like, this is the way I did it last time. So y'all have seen me go through y'all have seen me go through regular particles, curved hair particles, the skin modifier hair, and you have also seen me go through just my regular plain hair. So we'll put it on another we'll put it on another layer, and one moment. Alright, sorry about that. Alright, back to the video. So now for the final hairstyle, I'm going to use particles one more time. I guess those were the three ways. There's also curves. You could also use curves to make hair, but the skin works better, at least in my opinion, and isn't worth demonstrating. So I figured I should end this video with me actually making a hairstyle that I would find suitable. Damn shape keys. Alright. And so I'm just making some selections. Don't want too much. I mean, where's the brows going to go if all this is covered up with hair? So the first material will be actually, it's silly to remake this. I should just go to take this hair and its materials and move it all the way to this layer. Move it over one more. Here we go. So move all these particle systems. And do I already have groups? Maybe I do. Do I have my modifiers? Yes. So we're all set there. Go ahead and create my hair template. Hair, advanced, bring in the normal. We're done with this. I said we're done. This one, don't touch. Under render and display, maybe we want to raise this to be 7. On this one, we also want it to be 7. Under display and render, of course. Maybe on check emitter. It's useless anyways. So we'll start off with the group on this side, and we'll just call this WJR. Alright. Alright, and continuing on. So first thing want to do is maybe edit this weight group. So this is the weight group that I'm using, and so maybe I want it to stretch a little bit further over, and all I have to do is just re-add it, and voila. So I don't know if you know about this, but holding Alt will let you draw a gradient line. This is how I do weight painting on dense meshes, but I mean, I'm not trying to throw weight painting advice in here, but the simpler the mesh is, of course, the easier it is to do your weight painting. So that aside, maybe you want to control the emission. I'm always going for long hair, feminine hairstyles, so this one I'm actually going for a specific person. Maybe y'all will recognize the hairstyle at the end, but I'm pretty sure I'll name the video about that. So with hair, you have a series of controls. You have your comb, which is what I'm using here. And you see me already making a mistake of not setting this to be like 50, you know. Gotta drill that into my head. And now under children, we probably want to go ahead and just throw in those interpolated children. Set this to be 100 so we know what we're dealing with. And set the material under render to be 2. And let's go back into particle mode. So you have your options down here of just particle select and display mode, point select mode, or this one's path edit mode, point mode, and tip mode. Tip mode is great. You can just select single strands and control it for those little tassels and turns that, you know, add visual interest to your hair. And then you can also use your lasso tools to select individual ones. You can rotate and grab, and you can even uncheck keep length and just pull these hairs out. Pull them out, pull them in, deflect emitters on. We go back into object mode. We see that our hair is on its way. So comb it. But as you can see, whenever you do hair, you want to do it in parts. You want to work on your left side, your right side, and your scalp. I guarantee you if you go in that order, or at least break it up into smaller pieces, it'll be a lot more easier to deal with than one entire head full of hair. I mean, you don't comb your hair by running a big rake through it all the way through in one go. You start on the left, work your way to the right. Or at least you do if you're trying to grow waves. So we'll go ahead and let's actually find out the name of this. This one's Particle System 5. We'll go ahead and put that in. And field weights, force field weights, vertex groups. let's just comb away. We go back into object mode. We have a pretty good look here. So next thing is for the finale, we'll drop in another hair system. Keep going to the wrong one. I should have named my groups. Didn't, because it's a tutorial. And now we'll just add in some hair to certain areas, mainly up here in the front. Keep in mind, each of these hairs is 100 strands when I come out of particle mode. So it's just going to, bam, explode with hair. Hundred here, 100 here, 100 here, 100 here, 100 here, and so on. That's what I'm saying every time I drop one in my head. So I'm trying to do this without a blue screen. In fact, a funny story, the other day I was rendering something out, or not the other day, not too long ago, I was, the heck? Okay, so yeah, I was using a environment texture, which allows you to set your multiple importance map, right? Well, I accidentally typed in, instead of 256, I typed in 8096, and ended up maxing out all of my memory and shutting down my computer because I put this number too high. And I was in render mode because it's, you know, it's interactive. Might as well. So yeah, there's a big skunky line in the front now. And for the sake of the tutorial, I'm not going into full, like me personally, I would be playing with points and edges and just taking it as far as I can. But I just want to give one more demonstration of it before we log off here with 9 minutes left on the clock. We'll see how our result looks, and we'll expand this so we can see our color ramp in the panel. So the first thing you may notice is that my strands are just too thick. It's like dog hair. So under vertex groups, or not vertex groups, under your cycles material settings, we can set this to be 0.3, which will change things. And show us the baldness. So maybe 0.7. I can make a better material than that, let me tell you. And so with the hair mapper, you have transmission, which is your your classic transparent hair, I'm assuming, and then reflection, which is probably a glossy shader. So it's something I haven't got to spend a whole lot of time with, but it's definitely something worth playing with. My skin is so white. What did I do to this thing as far as shading it? Alright. Yeah, actually, right before this tutorial, I just chose a random head. It was like, you deserve a second chance. And so that's this one. You know, not trying to go for anything special, just not so statuesque. And so here we go. So with only 4 minutes left on the clock, I am going to demonstrate one last way of doing hair, just so I can say I went over all the ways that I currently can think of off the top of my head on how to do hair. And the last way is with the curve. So if your snapping's not on, holding control will activate it temporarily. So I was explaining to another guy that sometimes you want it to be controlled automatically, and sometimes you want it to snap every time you touch it, no matter what. So next thing is to drop a circle out here. This is much similar to the skin method. So, you know, under bevel object, you want to put a Bezier circle. And with Alt S, we can just scale it down. And with this, we can control it, snap it, pull the handles. Pretty decent amount of control, actually. I mean, I'm used to controlling vertices personally, so this is definitely something that would take a little getting used to, but it can be very quick and effective. And we would just go about it like so. In fact, we could just duplicate these, stick them to the surface, select these at the bottom, select all of them at the bottom, and just continue on so forth. But, you know, before I part ways, I want to just show a couple of things. One is, alright, so I added a Bezier, well, this isn't even Bezier, that's a regular circle, get that out of here. Alright, so we're going to drop in a circle, Bezier Circle, come on, circle, there we go, sorry, and a cube. And if we take this cube and press Ctrl P, it will follow the path. Just like that, it will just follow the path. Well, kinda. If we put this, see, this dotted line is a relationship line. And so if you just push it on the relationship line, this is what normally following the curve would do. But the problem is it does end after one rotation. So we'll set this to be 200 frames. And if we even look at the curve options, it says here that it is only that there is no option to make it go over a curve multiple times. So here's my solution to it in case you're watching, person whose name I won't say. In your add-ons, there's an add-on called Extra Objects, and there's one for the curve and there's one for the mesh. I already have mine enabled. So by doing that, you can add in a curve, extra object, spiral. Now with the spiral, you can add multiple turns, And then you could even make it spiral out, which we'll just make it spiral out. Or, yeah, we'll spiral it out. And so now, if I take this and select this and Control P, set it to follow path, go back to frame 1, and just make sure it's sitting where it's supposed to. Now we have it going around multiple times. So we'll delete that, put this back at the center, extra objects, spirals. We'll change the radius to be 0. Maybe it's this one. Alright, so here we go. I had to restore to defaults because I forgot which one it is. So I could just increase the turns. We'll give it 9 turns, okay? And then if we parent it to this curve, follow path, we have to put this on the relationship line. And now, within 100 frames, it will spin 9 times. So that's how you would control that, you know? So the next thing is deforming. I know this is kind of ranty and not really anything to do with hair at all, but I just want to fit in a little bit of Q&A in this video, just to answer some questions. The next thing is, you know, curve deform. Someone was asking me about that. So we'll just snap this cursor to selected, and we'll snap this cursor to select, or, dang, what the heck am I doing? Alright, selection of cursor. And if we select this, select the curve, Control P, curve deform, all we have to do is just make their origin points meet, and then this object is being modified by this curve. But let's make a more practical example so I can show it properly. Curve Bezier GRX GX1, snap my cursor, press period so that way whenever I scale, it scales off the cursor, and now drop in a cube. So the origin points matter for these modifiers. You'll put it on it and it will just go crazy if not. So now, with both of these sharing the same origin point location, which is right here, we can select this, select the curve, Control P, curve deform, and now we can just modify the curve, and it will modify the object and its final outcome. And that's pretty rad. I mean, you know, if you wanted to build like some crazy corridor or something, you could just and see, whenever these things happen, you want to control the axis that it goes on so that it will deform properly. However, we see that it only deforms right when it is on the Y. So sometimes you have to R, Y, 90, just to get things back on track. But I mean, we still have our control here. If I wanted to, you know, make this into a room, I could just and if I wanted to be even funnier, I could just snap there, put my camera there, make it the active camera with control numpad 0, which will make any camera the active camera. and Control P, follow path. And now I'm going through a wacky adventure. However, it's too wacky. In fact, they don't share the origin point. That's how it's going to be. So if we Control P, clear parent, get rid of, oh wait, it's this thing moving. Alt P, why is this thing rolling? Look at this thing, it's just going crazy. Alright, Alt P, clear parent, Control P, curve deform. And now I have to go back over here under the modifier, set that to be Y again, and it still is going along the curve. How do I stop it from following the curve? Alright, so in order to get out of it, I had to unparent it and then apply the curve without any sort of parenting relationship. So I want my camera to go along the curve, but if I put it, in order to do that, I have to have the camera on the axis point. So this is where you would use your empties. Empties come in handy for these sort of things. Put it here, Control P, follow path. And my empty is selling. So if I take this camera, Control P, set it to parent to object, now my camera is going together and it's like, you know, like some sort of carnival ride, just continuing. So that is that. So the next thing and final thing that I want to go over in this video is perpetual rotation. So someone was asking me, how would you animate a plane propeller? And so, you know, we'll just make real quick a plane propeller. You know, easiest way would probably be to here, and with the power of bevel, we'll just expand out SY, ESY, 5.8, ESX, 5.8, and so this will be our propeller, okay? And just to make it more propellerish, we'll put a thickness on it. We'll also put some groups here. So this part is going to be part of a vertex group, 0.3. And so by setting those groups, it looks like that. And you know, whatever. So, you know, I'm not trying to get fancy here. We'll just drop this in. And just in fair practice, we'll make it quads. Now, when Blenderella came out, Angelique Vignette was showing how you would come in and just diamond quad all these to make them quads. Nowadays, you can just hold it down, press Alt F, Alt F, Alt J, and if you raise the threshold, it will turn those into quads for you. Didn't do it perfectly, but that's beyond the point. On lesser amounts like 12 or so, usually it works out perfect for me. So I'll just parent these together. Select one, select the other, set parent to object. And we will take this empty, go over into our graph editor, and take a look at the graph. So we'll press I, rotation, go under here, remove that, control up again, RZ90, I, rotation keyframe, delete the X, delete the Y. If we look at this, this is what we have. And if we look at it in the graph editor, you press the home button and it will cycle in on your selection. So let's say you were looking at, like I was a second ago, like, you know, where's it at? Where is it at? Press A to select everything, press home to cycle in on it. So the first thing you notice is that there is a slope here. And you can see as it animates, it picks up some speed as it goes. It's probably best shown if we expand it out. Alright, and so we'll put the frame there, press E, and I can show you what I mean. So right now we're just playing with velocity. If you press V, you can change it to be a vector. Which will allow you a little bit finer control. Just don't use automatic handles, which it gives you automatically. So yeah, pretty bad. So let's say we were wanting to actually get this working right. I would take this, press N, and right here you see I set it to be 90, so it's 90 degrees more. We'll set this to be 360. And just make it a straight curve. So now it's going all the way through its thing, but if we make it, say, 80 frames, you see that it goes and it stops because, you know, there's no pulse here. So the next thing from here would be to press select your curve, and press Control E for extrapolation mode, and we change it to under channel extrapolation mode, change it to linear, and linear will make it continue straight on its same path until the end of time. So we can make this 800 frames. It will spin for 800 frames, no doubt. And you control P, parent the object, and now we have our setup here. And then if you wanted it to be faster in this rotation, then you would just, you know, move this over. So I'm moving it by pressing GX, and I'm constraining it on the X. Because I've been playing with my handles, they're just not gonna be nice anymore, but it's fairly easy to correct. So let's say this was on a helicopter. So you would be able to just come down, add another one, and parent it to another empty. And let's say I wanted to make a helicopter, you know. Sorry, this is totally a hair video gone wrong. I promise you, it's almost over. And so we'll take this empty, parent it to this, which isn't even necessary, but now I can just fly my helicopter. And so the person who asked me this question was actually making a aircraft. So let's say I want it to spin around about 9 times. Extra objects, spirals. We'll just take this object and Control P, follow path. So the first thing you see is it went crazy. We will put it at the front of the curve, so they're telling us that this is a starting point of the curve. Here, let's just have some fun with it now. Let's get all weird with it. And if we hide that, bam, just helicopter. Just like that, magic of parenting, a little bit of curve work, and you're good to go. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. But good times hanging out with you guys, making some hair. I do plan on, coming back with another video, and of course put up the ones that have just been sitting in my collection, not even up on YouTube yet. But I'll go ahead and drop it off there, and once again apologize for getting so off topic at the end here. But hopefully all of you learned something, and as always, thank you for subscribing. Happy blending.